I love saying that terminology, unlock your makeup, because that's what it's all about, right? It's optimizing human performance. We're not all trying to be Wally's, we're not all trying to be Rachel's, we're not all trying to be the same fingerprint. That's not what it's about. And I think sometimes society can look at these highly successful people, whatever that looks like, and they're like, oh, okay, I need to have this roadmap to become like that. But more, it's like, how do you take your skills and your masteries, step more into your awareness of your blind spot so that you can become the best version of yourself and what that looks like? And if you tailor make it in that way, I think people can, it's more achievable, right? Because people can't sometimes achieve the same level of creativity or the same level of leadership as the person that they're seeking out to be. And so, with that, you're actually missing out on the very leader that you could become in whatever role you're in.
Hey guys, Wally Olivieri. All right, so what is 24/7 mindset? Most times when you hear 24/7, you're thinking what? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just grinding, hustling. I learned over time, a 24-year career in mortgage and multiple other businesses that I own, is unfortunately you'll get burnt out. I became an absent father, I became an absent husband, and I became a poor business leader because I was trying to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to build a business, maintain a business. When I learned how to work smarter, not just harder, by doing things the best way it could be done, instead of just simply doing my best, I learned how to work only 24 hours a week, 7 months a year, while I got paid from the business residually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can do the same. Welcome to the show. 24/7 mindset. Thank you so much for everybody joining. I've got Rachel Lambert with us today. Absolutely one of the most brilliant minds I've ever met around mindset, and the owner of Braincode. But let me kind of tell you a quick little story about Rachel and myself. She was on stage at Sales Mastery, the first time I ever heard her. And absolutely she took something that was super complicated for most people and just really simplified it and showed steps how to really adjust your mindset to the point where it's like factual results. And then, our friendship kind of grew from there. We reached out. When I ruptured my Achilles, I couldn't really go out on a double date, but she came out to Dallas and came by the house, and her and Nikki really hit it off, and me and her husband really hit it off. And what's been super cool is watching her blossom and grow and really make an impact. And then when I learned that she could help adjust mindset for golfers, I was like, all right, I'm in. I got to do this. So, Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Wally. And yeah, I do joke we have quite a few clients and people that I know, and one of their first questions is, "Can you help me drop my handicap?" I'm like, I don't want to say that I can, but it's been proven. So if you can channel this bad boy right here, it's pretty golden.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us, like, how did Brain Code get started? Like, how is Brain Code mentally birthed?
Yes, so it was actually from my own story. I did tell a little bit of the story at Sales Mastery, but I was introduced via a personal experience. I very much so was a wild child, reckless, pushing the limits, always in trouble, pain in the butt for my parents. And I had truly a loving, great home that I was growing up in. And so there was a major disconnect between what my behavior was displaying and kind of the lack of uh, it's not like I didn't have a supportive family or I grew up in a lot of trauma. So that begged the question, what is going on with our daughter after it continued to get more progressively worse, right? I think at first parents can question, is this just normal teenage rebellion? And then all of a sudden it's like, no, I don't see everybody getting in this much trouble. This seems a little bit more like potentially a mental health issue. So I ended up getting introduced to brain mapping and neurofeedback. My mom heard another friend that was doing it for their daughter, and it was very successful for her mood and emotional control. So I went and did a brain map, and we can talk too a little bit if you want about yours, since you did a brain map as well. But my
Sure.
frontal cortex was like a Ferrari with no brakes. So as a young girl developing, right, trying to make good decisions, my brain was not working on my behalf. And so when you're feeling like you can't control your own decision making, your brain has a large component of that. I mean, think of how many people feel out of control of their emotions or out of control of their mental state. If you have an inflexible brain, it's kind of difficult to control that. So I did that brain map, did a bunch of neurofeedback training, which is kind of like PT for the brain, where you actually address the root cause of it. And at the end of the program, I had never felt better. My mind felt clear. I felt just this sense of control that I had never experienced before as a 17-year-old girl. And I was genuinely happier.
Nice.
And I was like, this is such an amazing tool. Why do more people not know about it? Like, why did it take all of these years of struggle for us to figure out an answer to really unleashing my brain so I could feel freedom from all of the symptoms that I was struggling with? So I changed my major and I was like, I am absolutely going to figure out how to get into this field. And gosh, more than a decade later, we've now have Braincode Centers. We see almost 5,000 clients on a monthly basis, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And I absolutely love being a part of watching people transform by channeling this organ.
So like one thing, again, as you know, I'm a super transparent, vulnerable guy. And I think when we had a double date night at the link, it was D Lincoln in Frisco. And I cried at dinner. And what I was kind of frustrated about was, being blessed to have so much massive success, but I was just so unhappy. And, I think the challenge was you get as a entrepreneur or a business person, like in this accomplishment mode, and it's accomplishment after accomplishment after accomplishment. And every accomplishment from the outside view looks like it's fulfilling, then it becomes empty. Then the next one's empty. The next one's empty. Where do you feel like that comes from? And if anybody is listening has felt that, what can they do about it?
Yeah, Renee always talks about the dopamine, the chemical dopamine, and how dopamine rises and falls and rises and falls. And it gives us this sense of, oh, I can get there, I can get there. But right when dopamine hits, you actually have this major crash and you go below baseline, which is so true. You can see that in the brain. So there's oftentimes, especially for, higher achievers, the dopamine level has to get bigger and more intense for us to feel that same level of accomplishment or joy or that hit of adrenaline, right? And so that can be hard to channel and hard to check. There's almost like an addictive quality to it, to be honest. I think number one, stepping into awareness of that is very, very critical. There are going to be people that are more apt to crave that level of dopamine, and then as success reaches certain heights, right, then it can become one of those things like you just said, like nothing is good enough. I have everything that I possibly want. I'm successful in this area. I have a great family. But then you look around and you're empty, and there is absolutely a neurological component to that. And so if your brain has inflexibilities in it, it's going to be even more difficult to shift back into a sense of, okay, I am good, I am grateful, look at everything that I have. So yeah, there's, obviously a handful of things that you can do to help with that. But I think awareness, to be honest, is one of the first things that you have to step into.
Well, I think also brain health. When my biggest aha from that dinner is like, worked so hard to make my brain so strong, and it's made my self-discipline so strong and made my habits so strong, but I neglected brain health. So help us understand a little bit, what is brain health?
Yeah, think about society. Right now, fitness is on the rise. Everybody's starting to understand how important physical fitness is. There's more education out there than ever on nutrition and hormones. And at least maybe it's because I'm in the field. I feel like everybody I know is like stem cells, supplements, nutrition. And this is all great. This is a great way that we need to evolve as society with that level of education. But to your point, what are we doing for our brain?
Yeah.
Like, what are you actually doing for your brain health? Of course, all of it goes together, right? If you're working out, that's going to help brain health. If you are supplementing well and eating well, all of that works together. But what are you actually doing, kind of like the gym for your body, to make your brain stronger and more flexible? And that's really where different things can come into play, where I talk about cold therapy. That's another thing that's trendy right now, but cold therapy is so awesome for your nervous system. It's so good for regulating your brain and putting your brain in a state of stress, but then teaching your brain how to regulate itself. That's going to make you a lot more resilient to stress, a lot more resilient to the hardships of life that are going to come no matter what, right? So love cold therapy. Another tool that I give people quite a bit is called a somatic check-in. This kind of steps more back into that level of awareness that we talk about. A somatic check-in basically takes the idea that we as human beings walk around all the time very unaware. We're unaware of our mood, we're unaware of our nervous system, we're unaware of our heartbeat. So how are you going to control anything if you don't have the awareness of your blind spots? So I always tell people, grab your phone, set 3 alarms. I want you to do 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 at the end of the day. And right when that alarm goes off, I want you to just take 2 to 3 minutes to do a check-in. I usually tend to close my eyes actually, but you're really going to kind of come into a sense of awareness of your nervous system.
Okay.
What are you feeling? Are your hands sweaty? Are you anxious? Are you frustrated about something? Are you feeling down and depressed? Are you, lacking gratitude? Is your heart racing? Does your stomach feel flustered? Like, what are you actually feeling like? And step into that awareness. Then you track that over a couple of days, right? And you're starting to see themes like, okay, I'm getting triggered all the time, or I'm not connecting with my family, or I'm feeling kind of anxious or depressed on a regular basis. Then you can actually take actionable steps on what you need to do about that. So that's another tool that I use quite a bit. Obviously, I do love brain training, which is what I do personally. I think that kind of takes it to a next level. You can actually train your brain by feeding the brain reward over and over and over again to actually teach the brain how to self-regulate. It almost is like mindfulness, but on steroids, because many people can't actually practice mindfulness very well or meditate very well. This takes it to a whole other level where you're actually rewarding a physiological state instead of just trying to access that state. So those are a couple that come to mind.
Yeah, I think it's what I love so much is like you never, as the ego of a man or woman or whatever, this ego as a professional, you feel like you've always got to look like you got it together. You always got to feel like you got to look the part. And, the whole fake it till you make it thing, it's just such a horrible way of trying to build a business or grow as an entrepreneur. But the mindset that I've seen out there and what I love so much about Braincode and the education that Braincode delivers is it doesn't matter what level of success that you're at, your brain not necessarily needs to get stronger, but your brain can get more efficient, which allows it to get more effective, which allows the results to get much higher and easier to succeed versus trying to muscle your way through everything and working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And instead of building it to where, the whole adage of you got to work harder, not smarter, just to get going. And what would you say to someone that is out there that's listening to this and that is just working their tail off, but this knows there's got to be a better way mentally to attack a task?
Makes me think of the example, because especially when you and I were going over your brain map, and I use this analogy quite a bit, but inefficiency is huge. I mean, I look at our brain almost like truly the engine of a vehicle that we're driving. Most of us are going 40 miles an hour down the highway, 60 miles an hour down side streets. We're forcing ourselves into fifth gear and then, forcing it back down, off. And nothing about it is this smooth operation, right? And so we're like, I gotta go get motivated. I gotta make those hard phone calls. I gotta go be present with my family. It shouldn't be this difficult, really. Like, if you have actually captured the power of your brain's ability to be efficient and transition well, it shouldn't be that difficult, right? And so really helping the brain become more flexible is a huge component of that. And if you can channel neurological flexibility, efficiency absolutely goes up. If you were to really take a second to think about where your day and time goes, you are totally right. Most people are not being efficient whatsoever with their time. I'd say a lot of these like higher success people, they think drive, burning out their engine is the way to go. Eventually you are going to burn out your engine. You can't go 80 miles an hour all the time and think that that's going to be effective. So you have to learn how to drive your engine super well. There's no place that you're going to go from point A to point B and go 80 miles an hour the entire time. There's not one route that you would ever take that would be, you know, the right state to be in. Yet that's what we think that productivity is. It's not. It really isn't. So channeling and being more efficient is very key.
Absolutely. All right. So did anything surprise you when you mapped out my brain?
You know, it's been, gosh, like a year since I
Yeah.
pulled that up. I would almost have to go into my archives and look at it. Did anything surprise me? I'm trying to think about that conversation. I think we talked about that brainwave beta.
Yeah.
And beta is a very motivating, energetic, productive wave to be in. And when we mapped you, you know, you were kind of still feeling a little bit like undermotivated. You have the drive, but it's like, why can't I shift into it? You were getting a lot of your energy from either that super fast brainwave high beta, which can sometimes give you that edge of more irritability, right? We talked about how you feel like you can burn people out around you. You run circles around people, and sometimes that's not super effective. Or you're down in that theta state, right? So Wally, for you guys to understand, theta is more of a slow brainwave. You're going 30, 40 miles an hour. It's where a lot of vision happens, creativity happens, which if y'all know Wally, that is a huge quality that you have. You're a visionary, you vision cast, you do that really well. But then you were getting all your energy from this 90 to 100 mile an hour state, right? So we were talking about, hey, all that joy and feel good brainwaves and lowering your handicap is going to happen more in a beta state. So how do we actually get your brain to shift into 60 to 70 miles an hour more often? So you are not going 30 or 100, 30 or 100. To your point, a lot of high successful people might, unless you really know the intricacies of their life and their behavior behind closed doors, you would think, oh, Wally, he probably has tons of beta, super productive, motivated. But when we had that conversation, it was more like, I actually kind of don't. I get stuck in this state or this state. So that was a surprise to me until I saw your brain and we had deeper conversation about that. But a lot of people would think, oh yeah, this person's super motivated, when behind the scenes, like they're compensating in a lot of other ways that productivity still happens, but it's not efficient, to your point.
Well, I just think what I love about what you just said is there's so many like inefficiencies, or there's so many challenges that I have mentally that just excites me for someone to listen to and say, man, if that Yahoo's that screwed up, you know, I've got a chance, right? And it's neat to be able to, and the words that you use are just so beautiful, but it's amazing how you can articulate something so magically exactly how I feel. And I couldn't put those in words, but it was such a frustrated feeling that, you know, I really enjoy going 80 to 100 miles an hour and in that stage and driving. But if I can't surround myself with other people, I want to, but I can't surround myself with other people that want to go 80, 100 miles an hour, like all the time. You need the people around you that want to go 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, because as a group, you can't just have everybody crazy, just redlining their whole entire brain. It just doesn't work. It's definitely inefficient, but it's, imagine like a room full of Tasmanian devils and this going around crazy. You've got to have some sort of organization.
Well, to that point, I think you and I were talking about the critical component of a leader learning how to delegate well. There are literally people that have neurological wirings that are going to set them up for skills and masteries that are different than yours and mine, right? And so you can see it almost on a brain map. It's like a fingerprint of what someone is going to be good at, where their blind spots are. So you and I talked about like, hey, we need to get some in between people too, as you still continue to work on your own plasticity, if you will, and your own neuro flexibility. So taking mindset to the next level. So obviously we don't want to just delegate to delegate, but also how do you put some players so that they can take your vision and help you execute and be more that middleman? And so we had that conversation. So sometimes even seeing, your brain map can help you understand, oh, wow, that is a blind spot of mine. So not only do I need to step into that and start to work on it, but I need to surround myself with people that this isn't their blind spot and this is their strength. So for you, I think it was a lot of that delegation, execution, getting some people in there to put your vision and make it come to life. So that was, I feel like, another eye-opening moment for us in that conversation.
It is also, you articulated really well from the brain map why I'm a sprinter. And, most people think like you've got to be a marathon runner in business. And I just don't have that makeup. I come in and I'm going to give you all I've got for 2 to 3 weeks. Then I got to get I got to get out of town. And so I come in, I'm going to give you all I got for 2, 3 weeks, and I got to get out of town. And if I get out of town, I get to recharge, and I come back ready to go. You don't want me working on a project for 3, 4, 5 months straight without a mental disconnect or the ability to kind of shift out of it, because I'll just burn out, and it'll burn out in a way, not necessarily like I get tired, but then I'm making like irritable mistakes. I'm making emotional decisions instead of factual decisions. And I end up going from being a leader to becoming a manager. And it is, instead of coaching, it becomes criticism. So once through my brain map, I understood that for me to stay a coach instead of a criticizer, I need to be able to go from that 90 miles an hour to be able to take a break. For me to be a leader of leaders instead of a leader of followers, I need to be able to go hard for 2, 3 weeks, then go take a break. And I think once you're able to unlock your makeup, you're able to build your world around you that allows you really to maximize your efforts and maximize everybody's efforts around you. But you've got a clear roadmap of what you need to succeed.
I love saying that terminology, unlock your makeup, because that's what it's all about, right? It's optimizing human performance. We're not all trying to be Wally's. We're not all trying to be Rachel's. We're not all trying to be the same fingerprint. That's not what it's about. And I think sometimes society can look at these highly successful people, whatever that looks like, and they're like, oh, okay, I need to have this roadmap to become like that. But more, it's like, how do you take your skills and your masteries, step more into your awareness of your blind spot so that you can become the best version of yourself and what that looks like? And if you tailor make it in that way, I think people can, it's more achievable, right? Because people can't sometimes achieve the same level of creativity or the same level of leadership as the person that they're seeking out to be. And so with that, you're actually missing out on the very leader that you could become in whatever role you're in. So yeah, I love that. Unlocking your own personal makeup. It's beautiful.
Well, then also candidly, it allows you to unlock other teammates of yours personal makeup. What I mean by that is I learned probably about 10 years ago that I'm an ID, so the DISC personalities behavioral style. I work extraordinarily well with SCs. When I learned what made me really successful, my whole team is built on SCs. And an SC understands for the DISC profile that once they master a model, they act like a high D because they're really confident. What that allowed us to do as a mortgage team is that I was always great at influence. I was always great at driving. The SCs don't know how to influence and don't know how to drive. So once we partnered together, and the SCs were the systems, the conformity, the models, the technologies, and then you combine that with the driver and the influencer, the team in the mortgage businesses took off. I would have never been able to impact their lives and impact their families' lives if I didn't have a clear identity of who I was mentally through mindset, and a clear identity of who I needed around me through mindset.
I love that. I love that so much. When did you first start to feel like you stepped more into your own awareness of mindset and character qualities and strengths and weaknesses?
I'd say it's probably 2013. I hired, there's a loan officer assistant I finally hired, that he had to like really, really convince me to hire him because he was so different than me. And I was making them, he was the sixth loan officer assistant that I hired in like 3 months. And the first 5 just absolutely failed miserably on my part. I was a horrible trainer. The things I was asking them to do, this wasn't realistic. And 4 out of the 5 like unfriended me on MySpace, if you remember that platform back in the day. So it's been a minute. But the biggest funny thing around that was His name is Shane, and he's a complete SC, very systematic, very technology based, very efficiency based. Before he makes a decision, he's got to create an Excel sheet. I've got my little post-it note over here and doing my chicken scratch. And what's great about Shane and I was he was so opposite of me that he filled my gaps extremely well. And the gaps that I had, I was always super talented and aggressive and driving to go succeed at a goal. But man, behind me was this like disaster land of unorganization and just this chaos. What he's able to do is allow me the freedom to be able to go drive, but he organized and structured everything behind me. So everything ran efficiently. Before we knew it, 2013, we're doing $36 million a year in loans. And just the next year in 2000, or in 2 years in 2015, we go from 36 million to 81 million with the same team, right? It wasn't necessarily we got 2 times or 3 times more talented or more scripting. We just got more efficient. So, and that's where I think most loan officers need to understand, like, go from making $500,000 a year in income to go into making $1 million a year in income in just 24 months of a difference in spread. I didn't become that much better. I didn't learn that many more programs or scripts or have that much better rates. I just was able to mirror and match my offensive mindset of drive with someone that helped me play defense, that it was protect the house systems, models. And once we're able to mirror that together, then I started hiring only SCs, and I built a $200 million a year mortgage business with 6 SCs. They're systematic, conformity. They follow a model to a T. They come across confident because they've mastered the systems and technologies, where it gave me the freedom to be able to go out there and prospect, and just make it rain with business.
Through good experiences and getting the right people on the right bus, but also going in the right direction is critical.
Yeah. And also, going the right speed together. What's great about it is, when you become watching them flourish and watching them grow really taught me how to become a leader of leaders. Because if I wouldn't allow them the freedom for them to be able to lead and for them to be able to build their teams, they were well talented that it would have turned around and they would have left me to go somewhere else. But they stayed in my ecosystem for the sake of, they now understood. Now it's entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is building your own business. Entrepreneurship is building a business within another business. And it just bothers me sometimes when I see loan officers. Yeah, my production partner helped me get to $50 million a year in loans, but then, they left and wanted to do their own thing. Only reason for someone to leave is because they don't see a bigger opportunity in your world. And once I was able to learn the combination to the safe of how to provide them bigger opportunities, it's kept us together for such a long time.
Oh, I love that.
Tell me a little bit about so when someone is listening to this or watching this and wants to understand more about Braincode, I mean, obviously I'm a big fan. It's helped me a ton, and mapping out the brain is something that is, it's just the ability to, the old adage, you got to work smarter, not harder, but you've got to understand to work smarter, not harder. You've got to learn to do it the best way it can be done instead of doing the best you can do. Working hard is you doing the best you can do. Working smarter is doing it the best way it can be done, which mapping out your brain, understanding what your chemistry breakdown is and be able to alter that. I highly encourage that. So how does someone get a hold of you? How does someone kind of learn more?
Yeah, I was thinking about that when we've been chatting. People like, probably, what is a brain map? And it's one of those things, I guess you just got to come check it out. But brain map really is a way of quantitatively understanding how your brain is operating by looking at areas of over and under wave production. So think about if we were to hook you up right now and measure your heartbeat, right? You get a lot of information about somebody by looking at the speed and the frequencies of their heartbeat. So that is more of considered like an EKG, right? Well, an EEG looks at brain wave activity. And we know that these brain waves create clinical patterns for people. So we can see all sorts of different patterns that people are going to exhibit neurologically that manifest behaviorally, right? So without me even knowing people, and not that I'm some sort of wizard on the back end, but your brain is almost like a tapestry of, have you played sports and had concussions? Do you struggle with brain fog? Do you struggle with motivation? Do you struggle with anxiety or sleep? I can see all of that by measuring your brain. You don't just have these behaviors by happenstance. There is a reason why your physiology can get disorganized in that manner, and then these behaviors show up. So we're more so looking at root causation instead of surface symptoms exclusively. So that brain map, so informative. Even if people don't do the treatment, which we obviously specialize in as Braincode Centers, doing the neurofeedback afterwards, where people actually then now have the chance to optimize their brainwave potential. We can save that for another day. It's, like I said, basically PT for the brain. But
Yeah.
we've been talking a ton about awareness, even just getting that brain map and stepping more into awareness of how your brain chemistry operates is huge. It's a huge starting place. So yeah, I mean, we have an office out there in good old Dallas. We have headquarters in Denver. I have an office in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But then we also have an amazing remote system. So we have people that train their brain from truly all over the world, where we're able to send them a headset, which is a little device with sensors on it, and they can train their brain from the comfort of their home. So that's really been an amazing tool too, so that people aren't just limited to coming in person, which, as we all know, we're all so busy and everybody wants to do things from home anyways. But yeah, braincodecenters.com if people want to learn more. I love educating people. So we do free consultations, learn about what's going on, learn about your goals, see if it's a good option for you. And I think starting with that educationary piece is huge as well.
That's awesome. All right. So we'll put the link below for that, braincodecenter.com. And I highly encourage it. I mean, I'm sleeping better. I'm happier with my success. I feel like I'm more of a patient husband and more of a patient father. But it's something also that I've struggled with previously in the past is sympathy and empathy. And I think what I feel now is I feel I can emotionally connect with people more because I've slowed down to be able to emotionally connect with people more. It's just been such a blessing. So, I mean, as a friend, thank you. As a professional, thank you. My only regret is one thing: we haven't got a chance to play golf together yet. So, have this baby of yours, get back on track, and we'll definitely tee it up here soon.
We absolutely have to do that, and we'll set some nice little bets on the course too. Love
All
some
right.
good competition.
Sounds good. Well, let us know how everything goes with the pregnancy. Can't wait to see the photos, and hope to see you again soon, Rich.
Yes, thank you, Wally, for having me.
So thank you so much for listening today. It means a lot you took time out of your day. I don't take that lightly. Understand very clearly that you're very busy. With that being said, if you want to continue your journey and learn more about 24/7 Mindset, if you're on Facebook, which I'm going to guess you are, then go to 24/7 Mindset on Facebook and join the private community. I do coaching tips on there on a daily basis, but from scripts on there to systems on there, models, and the ability to be able to grow and scale a business while you have a quality of life. Hope to see you there.